In this video, we'll look at the food of Qatar from three perspectives: agriculture, main dishes, and desserts. We're telling the story of Qatar's cuisine. Without further ado, let's get started. Qatar, a country located in the Persian Gulf, is a Sunni Arab nation on the Qatar Peninsula. A very long time ago, humans left traces of their civilization on this desert land surrounded by the sea. We can see a glimpse of this from the 874 Neolithic rock carvings discovered by local archaeologists. But it seems that the people who came after had no intention of staying for long, because for a very long time, this was just a place occupied by a few migrating nomadic tribes. But this land, because of its very special geographical location, was brought into the fold of several great civilizations. From the Persian civilization, which rivaled Greece and Egypt, to the Abbasid Caliphate, which was on par with medieval Europe. And then to the Ottoman Empire, which conquered the Eastern Roman Empire, blended Christian and Islamic cultures, and had a territory that spanned the three continents of Asia, Africa, and Europe. But after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the future of Qatar, and in fact, all the nations of West Asia, was largely determined by the various Western capitalist countries in their treacherous and complex political struggles. Many years ago, I read a work of literary nonfiction called Lawrence of Arabia, which was all about this period of history. But honestly, I don't remember most of the details anymore. I just remember things like the Young Turk Party, Mobil Oil, the Zionist movement, the Caliph's many sons, and on, all of which had a profound impact on the carving up of what is now the Arab world. And Qatar's story is right in the middle of all that. If you want all the details, a whole book might not be enough. But to sum it all up, one sentence is plenty. Basically, the people of Qatar, in a very short amount of time, went from being hardworking pearl divers in the Persian Gulf to becoming the rich kids kicking back on their black gold, oil, and flashily throwing cash around. So today, let's take a look at what these Qataris who've had such an incredible transformation are putting on their dinner tables. But even for a country that's swimming in money, Qatar has a hard time defying the laws of nature. To be frank, the environment in Qatar is just really not suited for farming. The extreme temperatures, the lack of rain, the arid soil, and even some of the chemical properties of desalinated seawater itself all make the wonderful dream of turning deserts into fertile fields a nearly impossible dream. For a nation as wealthy as Qatar, even after pulling out all the stops, their agriculture sector only makes up 0.65% of their GDP. They've managed to scrape together and convert 28,000 hectares of arable land, and that's about the best they can do. To put that in perspective, back in 1980, Qatar only had a total of 2,256 hectares of arable land. But there is one plant that's naturally adapted to this harsh environment, and that's the date palm known as green gold. It also goes by names like sea date or Persian date. It's a type of plant in the palm family of the genus Phoenix, and it's also one of the oldest tree species on the planet. When it comes to its growing habits, the date palm's only requirement is plenty of sunshine, as long as it gets that. Things like high heat, floods, drought, and salty soil, frost ice, there's nothing it's afraid of. On top of that, this high-yield tree is a treasure trove. Every part of it is useful. The seeds can be pressed for oil, and the leaves can be made into paper. The trunk is a perfect building material, and the branches can be used to weave all kinds of items. Even the soaked leaves and branches can be put to other uses. They can be used to make sugar and wine. Just think about that. Talk about useful. And when it comes to practical uses, the date fruit is a real gem. It's high in sugar and packed with nutrients. It's a favorite among the Arab people, and it was a favorite among the Chinese people in the last century, too. If you don't believe me, go ask the older generation. Back in the day, there were Iraqi honey dates, Cuban sugar, and Albanian cigarettes. These are all memories from that era, and for Qataris today, when they're enjoying traditional Arabic coffee, dates are a must-have snack to go with it. That's because Arabic coffee usually isn't served with sugar or milk. Instead, it's customary to add all sorts of spices. Things like cardamom or ginger powder. Of course, these ingredients give the coffee an extra layer of flavor. But there's one downside. They can make the unsweetened coffee taste even more bitter. That's why sweet dates have become the perfect partner for Arabic coffee. In addition, with dates used as a filling, the mamoul pastry, which is wrapped in dough, is another perfect pairing for coffee. Of course, a lot of the time, dates are the star of the show all on their own. Take the famous date and nut candy, for example. To make this candy, you first use ghee. to toast poppy seeds and various nuts separately. Then you mix them together with date paste, shape it into a log, and then slice it into rounds to eat. You can tell it's super fancy. All the ingredients are carefully selected high-quality items. Not a single grain of sugar is added during the whole process. All the sweetness comes naturally from the dates. Combine that with the rich flavor from the nuts and the taste. It's just out of this world. Like I said at the beginning, Qatar has historically been a land that was a crossroads for many civilizations. That's a crossroads for many civilizations. So here, you can see Egypt's national dessert, umali, sambusa, which is basically the same as an Indian samosa, and shawarma, which is similar to a Turkish kebab. But if we're talking about the deepest influences on the local cuisine, that would probably be Persian and South Asian food. South Asian cuisine is characterized by its masterful use of spices, and that's not just in Qatar. The entire West Asian region has been heavily influenced by it. As a people who started out as nomads, a major characteristic of Persian cuisine is that the main course and rice are often cooked together in one pot. While this saves fuel and time, it also minimizes any loss of the ingredient's flavor. This type of cuisine also makes up a very large portion of traditional Qatari food. Take kabsa, for example. This dish doesn't have a fixed set of ingredients. It's made from rice and meat, mixed with a large amount of spices, creating an all-in-one meal. There are many kinds of kabsa, and each one has its own unique twist. If there's one thing that's always consistent, it's that you have to use long-grain basmati rice. You start by stir-frying onions and meat, then add various spices, and create a sour flavor using either tomato paste or dried lime. After that, you add water and let it cook. Once the meat is cooked, take it out of the pot. Then into that original spice-filled broth, you add the pre-soaked long-grain basmati rice, along with some root vegetables like carrots and potatoes. Then you cover it and let it simmer. When the rice has absorbed all the broth and the water in the pot has cooked off, it's ready. As for the tender pieces of meat from before, they still need to be roasted. What you want is a crispy, fragrant surface with a tender texture on the inside. After that, you spread out the rice, arrange the meat on top, sprinkle on some nuts and raisins, and you're ready to dig in. In the Arab region, kabsa is incredibly popular. It's famous, and you'll find it at almost every important occasion. From weddings and the birth of a child to all kinds of grand formal banquets, it's always the star of the show. Actually, there are many other local dishes similar to kabsa. For instance, there's guzi, which typically pairs roasted leg of lamb with rice and a 5-spice rice that focuses more on aromatic flavors. There's even madruba, which is made by pressure cooking meat and rice until they become a thick porridge. Of course, rice isn't the only thing that can be the main star. The region also has many dishes that are a perfect pairing of wheat and meat. For example, tharid is a major dish made by tearing up thin wheat flatbread and mixing it with meat. Since the Prophet Muhammad mentioned this dish in many hadiths, it's held in high esteem during Ramadan. Harees is a dish said to have been created by Gregory, the patron saint of Armenia, as a charity meal for the poor. It probably made its way to the Arabian region during the time of the Ottoman Empire. It's a porridge made by slow-cooking wheat and chicken breast for a long time. Armenians eat it to celebrate Easter, and Qataris eat it to celebrate Eid al-Fitr. Everyone eating their own porridge to honor their own god is pretty interesting. Qatar has one of the highest obesity rates not just in the Arab world but globally. About 17% of Qatari adults have diabetes and 22% have high cholesterol. Over 70% of the population is overweight and nearly 40% is obese. Of course, one reason is the hot environment, which leads to a lack of physical exercise. But the local dietary habit of having an extreme sweet tooth is also definitely to blame. Next, I'll briefly describe a few famous local desserts for you. You can be the judge of whether you could stay slim eating them. Said to have been created by Gregory, the patron saint of Armenia, as a charity meal for the local poor. It probably came over during the Ottoman Empire to the Arabian region. It's made by slow-cooking wheat and chicken breast for a long time, making it into a porridge. Armenians eat it to celebrate Easter, and Qataris eat it to celebrate Eid al-Fitr. Everyone eating their own porridge to honor their own god is pretty interesting. Qatar is one of the countries with the highest obesity rates, not just in the Arab world but globally. About 17% of Qatari adults have diabetes, and 22% have high cholesterol. Over 70% of the population is overweight, and nearly 40% is obese. Of course, the hot climate is one reason, leading to a lack of physical exercise. But the local habit of eating extremely sweet foods is also undeniably to blame. Next, let me tell you about a few local, famous desserts. You can imagine for yourself if you could stay thin eating them. Fried sweet dough. First, you make a sweet dough from flour, cornstarch, and sugar, and milk powder all mixed with water. Then the sweet dough is squeezed into little balls. They're fried in batches twice. After they come out of the pot, you quickly toss them in a super thick sugar and lemon syrup, and then they're ready to eat. I mean, forget about me eating this stuff. Just looking at it makes my teeth ache from the sweetness. Then there's kunafa. It's another dessert with a 1,000-year history. It's said to have originated in the Fatimid Caliphate in North Africa. It was probably introduced from Egypt. The main ingredient in kunafa is kataifi, which is a kind of noodle-like pastry made from wheat. It's also a base ingredient for many Middle Eastern desserts. To make it, you first spread butter and syrup on a baking pan. Then you take a generous amount of melted butter and mix it in with the kataifi pastry. After that, you press 2 layers of it onto the pan, a top and a bottom one. In the middle, you stack a layer of cheese and then pan-sear both sides. Once it sets, you melt another huge pot of sugar water. Pour it all over the top and finish it with a sprinkle of crushed nuts. Just thinking about that level of sweetness is insane. There's also balalit, which is made with lots of butter and sugar mixed, with vermicelli noodles and a fried egg. There's a sida, which is a dough made from boiling flour and butter with water, which is then drenched in a ton of honey syrup. And when people eat these desserts, they often have to pair them with the local karak chai. Just imagine eating like that all the time. It'd be a miracle if they didn't have an obesity problem. What's more is cities like the capital Doha have become more and more open. All sorts of Western fast food chains have started, popping up one after another all over the place, right in the neighborhoods of regular folks. So the health issues among the people of Qatar have really been getting worse and worse in recent years. I'm guessing that in recent years, the Qatari government has been constantly hosting all sorts of sporting events, including the World Cup. It seems like they're hoping to use this opportunity to guide people toward developing a good habit of exercising. Model. They probably considered that as well. Through promoting these events, they want to raise awareness about sports and healthy eating. But it's easy to get used to the good life and much harder to give it up. Those difficult days of the past, spent diving for pearls in the sea, are long gone. Now that they're sitting on all that oil, the people of Qatar, with the world's highest GDP per capita, probably wish they could drive just to take out the trash. On top of that, the local temperature is often over 37 degrees, so trying to get a daily workout in is definitely asking a lot. But you either have to watch what you eat, or you have to start moving your feet. You either increase your output or decrease your input. You gotta pick one, right? That's right, I'm talking to you, Qatar.